Welcome to Trail Talk here on LTTV. I'm Chris Forde. I'm the Director of Marketing at Illinois Eastern Community Colleges and Lincoln Trail College. Joining me is Dr. Zahi Atallah, the President at Lincoln Trail College. Zahi, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm good. Well, Zahi, we have been celebrating Community College Month, and we're going to talk to one of our own today, and that is our Dean of Instruction, Brent Todd, who has experienced community colleges at several different levels.
We are. Brent is not a graduate of Lincoln Trail. He's a graduate of a different college in Illinois, and we're going to hear his perspective, why he chose to go to a community college. Let's remember that most people go to the local community college, and that's a significant difference from four-year, especially selective and residential universities. So we're local, and we're going to hear from him why he chose a community college.
I'm really excited to hear from Brent.
So am I.
All right, joining us now on Trail Talk is Brent Todd, the Dean of Instruction here at Lincoln Trail College. And Brent, first of all, welcome to the show. And second of all, we're celebrating Community College Month all month long. And you're somebody that has had a lot of touch points with community colleges, both in your career and also as a student.
That's absolutely right, Chris. So first of all, thank you and Zahi both for having me today. But I do believe that I am a community college person through and through. I started out as a student at my local community college. I ended up working there as an adjunct faculty member. I've worked for two other community colleges, either as faculty, staff, or administration as well. So I'm very familiar with community colleges, what they do, how they operate in Illinois, and I'm very, very supportive.
So, Brent, you've worked also at universities. Why are you drawn back to the community college? It's not like you've only carved your career in a community college.
Right. So I started my career as a full-time biology instructor at a university. And I wanted to try the community college environment. Absolutely loved it. Of course, I had the experience as a student, but I wanted to compare the teaching part of it. And I can say without doubt, I mean, our universities, of course, are great institutions, but there is that focus on teaching at the community college that doesn't necessarily exist at the university. At the university, there's, of course, a lot of emphasis on research. Oftentimes, particularly in introductory courses, students end up with graduate students. Not that that's a bad thing whatsoever, but at the community college, in contrast, you have faculty who are seasoned, who not only have the degrees but have the passion for teaching as well.
So, Brent, I want to go back to the time that you were a student at a community college. Talk a little bit about sort of the decision that went into being a student and the benefits that you saw as a student at a community college.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a senior in high school, I had everything figured out, of course. I wanted to go to the U of I wanted to go into healthcare. I had all of these things, at least I thought, figured out. And it was my parents who said, you might want to consider the local community college. So I will be the first to admit that I was not necessarily somebody who wanted to go at first. However, I will say that I do not think that I would even have made it through college had I have started straight out at an institution like U of I. I also learned while I was at my local community college that I was not interested in the healthcare industry whatsoever. And so my path has taken a very different trajectory than, what 18-year-old Brent had figured out. And a lot of this I am where I am today it's because that I did go to my local community college. I was able to find a career path, a subject matter path that worked better for me. I ended up not going to U of I. I didn't even want to do that after I had gone to the local community college. Had this personalized experience. I had faculty that introduced me to other universities in the States, and I ended up graduating from Eastern Illinois University, which was a much better fit for me.
Now, Brent, so you talked about talking to yourself as an 18-year-old, but if we were to take it to a little bit of a parallel level, which is Brent talking to youth, whether youth in the high schools that we meet or somebody you meet at the grocery store, and you're talking to them about their future, how would you address community college versus university versus apprenticeship versus no higher education?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I remember something very important that my high school guidance counselor had told me. So when I started having that realization in high school that I'm not going to U of I, I'm going to start out at my local community college. I kept using the phrase, I'm just going to my local community college. And my high school guidance counselor told me, you need to drop the just, you're going to college. And that has stuck with me ever since. And so I'm going to sidetrack here just a little bit. I went to my local community college. I spent 2 years of very rigorous coursework. And I never actually graduated. I transferred my credits to a university. I ended up getting my bachelor degree. I ended up getting my master's degree. And a couple decades later, I found myself working in dual credit, and I'm promoting community college to our students and explaining to them things that I thought when I was in high school as well, that community college means it's easier. Credits may or may not transfer. You don't really need to graduate. You just get your generals out of the way. None of these things are true. So what I ended up doing was contacting my local community college, again, decades later, and saying, you know what, I never finished. What is it going to take for me to actually get that associate degree? And so I finished my bachelor's degree. I finished my master's degree many years before I actually finished my associate in general education. But I'm very, very proud of that associate degree. I'm sitting here in my office. All of those degrees are on my wall, and I proudly have that associate degree displayed. So the advice that I would give to current high school students is keep in mind, you're not just going to your local community college. You're going to college, and you're getting a quality education. You're going to be taught by qualified and competent faculty whose focus is on teaching and learning. They care about you. They're going to get to know you, and you're going to leave that place not only with the knowledge from your subject matter, but with life skills that you're not necessarily going to get at a university.
Brent, one of the things that you talked about in one of your previous career stops before you came to Lincoln Trail was dealing with dual credit. And that's one of the interesting things that community colleges offer is the opportunity for high school students to take college level classes and earn college credit while they're in high school. Talk about the impact that has for high school students, as they prepare for college.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish that dual credit was an option for me. I graduated from high school in 96. It was 98, roughly, I think, when dual credit became very popular in Illinois. But the thing is, because of the way community colleges are funded, we are able to offer college opportunities to high school students for a fraction of the cost that even our traditional age students are paying, but definitely at a price reduction when it comes to comparing those same courses to universities. the first 2 years of courses, particularly the transfer courses that a student's going to take here at Lincoln Trail College or whatever their local community college is, again, they're just as rigorous as they're going to be at a university, but students are taking them in the comforts either of their high school, where they have an instructor who meets the same credentials or more highly credentialed in some cases than what a college instructor would be, or they can take them at their local community college campus, which is again, a little more familiar of a place, a safer place than a high school student going to a university to take a course. So it not only saves a bunch of money, but it aids that transition for a student to go off to college as well.
As you're talking about this, and you and I have had multiple opportunities to work with the local community. I'm wondering what your views are on the impact of community college on workforce and economic development, and for you, as you're describing it to somebody who doesn't deal with education, how would you describe it to them?
So community colleges, without doubt, are economic engines for their local communities. We could talk about this all day as to what that economic impact is, whether it's state funds that are coming into our county simply because we exist, or the tax base. I mean, all sorts of things that we could talk about. But something that I think is really important for our communities to know is that when industry is wanting to locate somewhere, they realize, particularly if it's going to be a large industry, that their staff, their employees are going to need training and development. And so one of the things that industry will often do before they locate somewhere is to identify, is there a community college or university or some sort of higher education institution nearby where we can train our staff. That's just one example of many of how community colleges drive the economics of the regions that they serve.
And Brent, kind of last question here for you, because we've taken a lot of your time already today. Sort of along those lines with economic development and workforce development, talk about the advantage that community colleges give to students that are looking to go right into the workforce after college, as opposed to somebody that is going to come to a community college and then transfer to a 4-year university.
Oh, yes. Great conversation piece here, Chris. So a lot of people know their local community colleges and still refer to them as the quote unquote junior colleges. And one of the reasons that phrase was dropped many years ago is because we're not just the junior college in the sense that we prepare students to go to universities. We prepare students for universities, but we also prepare them for the workforce. So one of the things that we can do that universities don't really have the capacity to do is to prepare students for careers that require a certificate or a 2-year degree that they then go directly into the workforce. So here at Lincoln Trail, it might be office management, welding, broadband telecom, process technology. These are all positions, these are all careers rather, that our students have no problems finding careers, but they need training. They just don't necessarily need a 4-year degree for it. We're able to train those students in a much shorter period of time than what a university would. So many of our students come to us, they spend 1 semester, a full year, sometimes 2 years, and they leave us and they go directly into the workforce with a career without the need to go to a university.
So Brent, before we go, is there anything else that you want to add?
Just, speaking to 18-year-old Brent again, I wish I could go back and tell him that you're going to community college. And by the way, you're going to love it. Some of my closest friends are actually not the ones I met at the university, but the ones that I met in community college. And I still keep in contact with them. I cherish those 2 years I spent at my local community college. It was a great experience, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Well, Brent, well, thank you for joining us on Trail Talk today.
We heard from Brent. We've heard from Bill Sandiford before then, and we're going to hear from others how community colleges help them shape their future. Isn't it amazing?
It is. And I mean, listening to Brent's story, how transformational community college was for him, completely changed his career trajectory.
Right. We're in the business of enlightening people and opening their eyes to the possibilities that they did not think exist.
Yeah, so just one more reason to celebrate Community College Month. We've been doing that all month long here on Trail Talk. If you enjoyed this video, be sure and hit the like button, ring the bell, subscribe so you get more notifications from us about future videos that we post. And certainly like our content on our other social media channels as well. So for Dr. Atallah, I'm Chris Forde. We'll see you next time on Trail Talk on LTTV.